And you'll see at the bottom, it shows one upload complete. USA Exhibit 1 doc has been dropped into USA Labs. Stays on your desktop, it doesn't delete it. Then I'm going to take USA Exhibit 2 and drop it over there into USA Labs. It's done. And then just for the sake of jollies, I'm going to say plaintiff's trial exhibits. PDF is going to go into Kit COVID's. That's their exhibits. And then the Zoom pic is going to go into Kit COVID's thing. And so you'll see here all the items that have been uploaded. It shows you that they're complete. When you go into USA Labs, there they are. There's USA Exhibit 1 and USA Exhibit 2 that are in USA Exhibits folder. I'm going to go back to them and show you Kit COVID's. So there's Kit COVID's. You got the PDF, and you also got the Zoom pic. Look, there's Judge Artiaga right there and Judge Villarreal right there. And so those are the exhibits. What I am planning to do, and I know this is as a lot of you know, this is going to be one of those things that we as judges are going to have to find tweaks, work the tweaks out with, and get the kinks out. But I'm anticipating that as you introduce your exhibits, then you will drag them into their respective folders. So if USA Labs has gone through predicate and moves to admit USA Exhibit 1, then I anticipate that you will drag USA Exhibit 1 into the main folder. Okay, go back to the main folder, it's sitting there, and then you'll drag it into exhibits that are admitted. Okay, so if it's admitted, and that's how you're going to publish it to me. I have no intention of going into USA Labs folder here, and I have no intention of going into Kit COVID's but LTD here. That's where your documents are. They're unpublished exhibits, they're non-admitted exhibits. And so until they hit this folder here that says exhibits admitted, I'm not going to be looking at them. I will be opening only exhibits that are admitted in here. And then I'm only going to be accessing 2 things. Not admitted stuff, the stuff that you're not, that I say, nope, you didn't meet the predicate or whatever, and it's not going to make it into evidence. You just drop it into exhibits here that says not admitted. The reason that I'm doing that is for purposes of the record, because a lot of you will withdraw your exhibits at the end of the hearing, as you customarily do, and you'll hold on to them as officers of the court, and that's fine. I'm going to give you the opportunity at the end of my hearings, go back into your folders and take them out if it is it's done without objection and both sides agree to do it, to withdraw their exhibits. Prior to me recessing the hearing and closing out the Zoom session, I'll give you the opportunity to go in. You can take your exhibits out by removing them, and then I'll close out your folder, and then that's it. If you want the exhibits to be retained in the record, then they will stay in these respective folders here. After the hearing has been concluded, I will terminate the attorney's access to those folders and give access to my court reporter so she can maintain those for the record. Now, I realize some of these may not be originals, and there may be some issues with respect to that. So if you're needing to bring them in and substitute them, certainly, like for instance, a disc or a videotape or something to that effect, we're still working on that. That'll be something you'll have to discuss with opposing counsel, and then together get with my court reporter to make sure that she gets either the original physical document or whatever it is that we're having to have put into the record. So that's how I intend at this point to operate with Google Drive. I know that some folks would like to, let me go ahead and stop sharing this right now. I know that some folks would like to email, but I'm going to tell you why I'm not in favor of it. And I know a lot of judges are preferring email because that's what they're accustomed to, and maybe they haven't gotten equipped with the Google Drive yet. So it's going to be a process for everybody, but I think with the emails particularly, they can get stuck at the Bexar County firewall. They can get sorted to the spam or the trash folders. You're going to be competing with other emails that are coming in for the judge, and so it's going to be kind of a sorting through emails to get to your exhibits. Additionally, size may be of a concern with respect to attachments to emails, and so that's why I'm choosing to utilize the Google Drive at this time. For me, I think that's the best practices approach. Others may have a different point of view. I know a couple of our judges are going to be implementing this approach. Other jurisdictions that I've spoken to are also implementing this approach. And until we can find a better way, I think that's the way I'm going to be doing it. So does anybody have any questions for me? I do apologize today, but at 5:30 I have to get on a parent-teacher call, so by Zoom to rehash the week with my kids and find out how things are going. So you got about 10 minutes of questions with me. Otherwise, I will hand the floor back over to Judge Alvarez. Is there, let me see if there's hands anywhere. Sorry, I'm trying to navigate the screen. Okay, no hands either. Okay, so I guess I have no questions on Google.
Oh, Judge Alvarado, I asked a question in the comments over there. In the
sorry.
No, it's okay, because I kind of came in late. So my question was whether you're going to have a different Dropbox address for each day or case, or if you're just going to take that one Dropbox address and just change the case number folder or the case name folders every day.
So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to create a folder for your specific case when I get the assignment. It's pretty simple to do, and I might just have my draft folder in there with fake names in there, and then as I get it, I'll just change the names so that everybody has their respective folder. But it's not going to be the same. Well, let me put it this way: the attorneys are going to have access only during the course of the hearing to that folder. So I will create a share function on the folder, and then I'll take away the share permissions at the end of the hearing. You understand, Maribel, how it's going to work?
Yes, I get it. I was just wondering if you could share that Dropbox address with us ahead of time, because I'd really like to start compiling everybody's information.
Well, it's not something that I have. It's not a Dropbox. It's a Google Share Drive, first of all, and it's a folder that's in that share drive. And it's not something that I'm going to have a permanent address to, I guess is the best way to say that. When I receive the assignment from presiding, I will then generate a share folder, and then in that, when I send you by email your Zoom hearing information, where you're going to click on and get the number to where to get in, you will also receive the link to the share folder. You understand? And at that time, it's a matter of just dragging and dropping. So I'm going to make a recommendation to all the attorneys that on your desktop, you have your folders ready with whatever you're going to plan to drag and drop over. So if you're going to have your pleadings folder ready, just have it already, all the pleadings, as you would typically do with a binder that you would present to us with all your pleadings. Instead, you'll just have them all sorted into a digital folder on your desktop, and it would just be a matter of opening up the share drive and dragging and dropping over all of your pleadings into that pleading folder. And then the same thing with your you'll drag and drop them into your respective folders. And one of the things that I anticipate doing is so that way, well, there's a lot of concerns I have about people getting access to things that they shouldn't by using Zoom, because it is somewhat of a wide open platform. Typically, when you have somebody that is in court and they're observing, they don't have the right to go home and take a copy of your documents with you after they've observed the case. If you share in the chat feature a document, so if I go into the chat feature off to the side, oh, can I not share a file as a host? I guess I can't. All right, so for those of you that are not hosts, if you go down to the chat, do you have a little folder that has a file picture on it that you can click on and share something to, like a document? Does anybody have maybe a fake document they want to share on there? I didn't realize as a host I can't do that.
Well, Judge Alvarado, I'm wondering if this is part of the change in the functionality in our accounts that OCA did last night as a result of the Zoom bombing issues, because I've been trying to share the outline since we started, and I have not been able to do that. I've asked Ms. Vance and Judge Diaz to help me try to do that, and I don't think they've been able to do it. So I think our functionality hosting these meetings has changed, and I don't know. Of course, I didn't know about the change in features when I set up the meeting, so it's going to be something that we're going to have to research.
Okay, well, my point being on that, and maybe that's a good thing that they took that off of there, was at a certain point in the chat, and some of you may have experienced being in other chat room or in other Zoom rooms, but in the chat you can upload files. The problem with that is anybody that has access to that file in the chat can download it. And so if your case, for instance, garners quite a bit of attention and there's media or there's just spectators that came, they will also have the ability, without anybody knowing, to click on that document that got shared in the chat and download it. So you need to be very conscientious about what you publish in the chat. I'm glad that this feature's been disabled here. Perhaps on a going forward basis, I'll have to check my Zoom account tonight too to see if that's changed, because I was able to do it just a couple of days ago. Another thing that I would like to talk about with respect to sharing exhibits is when you publish to the screen by way of a share. So let me go and open up one of those exhibits, those little fake exhibits that I came up with. This is one that was used, I think, in a prior hearing. Let me see if I can screen share it. Give me just a minute. Okay, where is it? Hold on just for a second. There we go. Okay, so I'm sharing with you right now it was used for one of our mock trials. It was an exhibit list, okay? So in the share function, in the share screen function, and at the top of your screen, you see like a green bar and a red bar. If you run your cursor over it, yes, who is that? Is that Judge Diaz? You can go to the top and you can not this time? No. Judge Alvarez, are you doing that? No? Okay. So somebody just Zoom bombed us. So if you go to the top, across the top, you can see there's an annotate feature. And if you click on the annotate feature, I'll let everybody try it right now. If you want to Zoom bomb all over the exhibit, I'm fine with that. So click annotate, practice using that. You can add text with a text box. Zoom bomb. Okay. You can draw. You can pick a stamp and stamp it. Now you can see how this would be really good for, say, for instance, if you had a picture and you were giving your witness a picture in reality with a pen to write on top of it and say, you know, can you tell me where you were standing when the accident happened? And they can click on the little X feature on stamp and they can say, oh yeah, I was standing right here and I was standing right there. And then, okay, well, can you tell us which direction the car was going? Oh yeah, it was going this way. So it's a really nice feature, but at the same time, it presents some problems because somebody can Zoom bomb you. The other thing about this is if you look after you had clicked annotate and you see all those different features across the top, you can actually click save. There's a save feature there in the corner. So if you click save, and I don't know, does everybody have the option to click save on that? Okay, so if you click save, it will actually save it into a folder. It gives you an option to show in folder, so you can show the folder, and it probably will have saved in your computer's documents folder. There's a subfolder that it creates called Zoom, and then it gives your picture or screenshot an identification number. So if anybody has clicked on the save feature, it'll be saved down on your computer's hard drive in the documents folder under Zoom. Okay?
I can't figure out how to annotate. I feel retarded.
Okay, who's talking?
It's Crystal.
Okay, so Okay, at the very top, do you see a green bar and a red bar, the green number on it, and then it says stop share? Or does anybody see that? Or what did you see?
I have, but I'm in green.
So it's going to be under the view options menu. If you go down,
Sorry. It was so high up on my screen, I didn't recognize. Thank you.
Okay, so you see annotate,
That was my
Then-
little,
then you click on annotate, and then it presents that drop down. Okay, and so you can play around with that, and it does a lot of cool stuff. So again, this is another security issue that I want to bring up to everybody. I'm going to stop sharing now. It's a security issue because anybody in the room can do a screenshot of that, as you can tell, and also it is something that can be Zoom bombed and written all over. So just be aware of that. Because of open courts, we're going to have to make it available for people to be able to be in as spectators. We will be giving them specific admonitions as to what they can and cannot do, and we'll be trying to monitor any disruptions. And of course, anybody that is disrupting will be asked to leave or be placed in the waiting room. But just be aware when you are presenting things for your clients that people have the ability to capture those things. That is kind of where the Dropbox can come into play. So what I did in a hearing recently was we used the Dropbox, and so things were being published through the Dropbox and not published on the screen. And everybody knew what everybody was clicking on because it was in the Dropbox. That was a way that we kind of circumvented having to publish to the screen sensitive documents. It may not be ideal in every situation, but it is a remedy to that, and I just want you all to be aware of it. Certainly don't be afraid to use those features, but just be aware that there are some security issues with respect to that. It is, what time is it? It is 2 minutes over when I have to leave. So if there are any questions that you have specifically and you want to leave them in the chat, or let Judge Diaz or Judge Alvarez, or maybe they can even address those, please feel free to ask them. I don't know if Judge Alvarez is going to be hosting any more of these, but maybe I can address them at another time if necessary. Another thing I would suggest doing is just Google Share Drive 101. There's a lot of 101s out there that teach you how to set it up, but it's pretty simple once you set it up, and hopefully that'll be it'll be easy during our hearings. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and give the floor back to Judge Alvarez. I have to go. Thank you all again for being present. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
thank you, Judge Alvarado.
great night.
Thank you.
Good luck with the parent-teacher conference.
Judge Alvarez, can I piggyback on what Judge Alvarado just said really briefly?
Yes, and there is a question in the comments regarding that, and if you could address it, that would be great. There's a question regarding accommodations for in-camera review of documents, if that comes up, and I don't know if you want to address that within the functionality of the Google Drive.
I don't see that question. I think it may have been directed to you, but I'm happy to address that too. Before I get there, I know the Zoom bombing everyone was doing, congrats for figuring out how to do that, but you can actually turn that feature off before you share your screen. And so what I recommend that you do, it can be a helpful tool for presentation, but it can be very hurtful for purposes of Zoom bombing. Before you share your screen, when you go to select and share your screen, it gives you options of whether you want to allow annotation or not. So you can actually turn off the annotation feature before you share your screen. And that's what I recommend everybody do. Because I'm a host, I don't know, I guess I can test it right now if anybody wants me to walk them through that, but I can tell you that if you go to share your screen, you'll have that option. For the in-camera reviews.
So can we walk through that sharing screen without the annotation?
Yeah, let me pull something up to share. Okay, it's just gonna be a website. Let me
Go ahead.
Okay, and now I'm not even finding where to share my screen. Give me just a second. There it is. Okay. So the screen sharing option should be at the very bottom of your screen. For me, it's highlighted in green. It says share screen. So when I click on that, it's actually telling me that the host has disabled participant screen sharing. Can we change that feature, Judge Alvarez?
Let me try. And again, I think this is part of the OCA changing to our functionality. Let me see. Well, I've got that one participant can share their screen at a time. That's marked. Are you not able to share your screen?
It says host disabled participant screen sharing. It's not letting me.
All right, then I'm gonna make you a co-host.
Okay.
And then you should be able to share, but I'm not sure. We'll have to address that.
Okay, so yes, now I can share. Okay, so before I share, if you all will just scroll over the share screen button at the bottom. For me, because I have the ability to, I'm not sure if it's going to show up for you, but there's a little arrow pointing up next to the share screen button. And if I click on that drop up menu, it allows me to click on advanced sharing options. No, it's going to be different for the host. I'm sorry. Judge Alvarez, do we have all of these folks' emails? Could we send instructions later or try again next time? Because this is going to be different through the host than it is for a participant. I think we need to be able to show them how to do it for a participant. But essentially, it's going to be an option on the drop down of the share screen.
So I think
may
the easiest thing for me to do is to reply to your email. If you email me, and then I'll reply to you both with the instructions on how to turn off the annotations on your share screen and also with the outline, because again, I think what happened in response to the Zoom bombing issues that have been increasing is the functionality of the judge's ability to host these meetings have been changed. So I can't share the outline. And so if you want it, email me and I'll reply with the PDF. And I'll also reply with Judge Diaz's instructions on how to turn off the annotation feature when you do share your screen. So we can make that work that way. And again, I think the functionality was just changed either last night or this morning. And I suspect that it might happen as we move forward, just to address some of the privacy and security issues with this platform. And Judge Diaz has provided the URL. Is that correct, Judge Diaz?
Yeah, this is a really quick article on how to use the annotation feature. And if you scroll almost to the very bottom, it walks you through how to turn off the annotation feature. So if we don't get it to y'all through email, you have that link right there.
Okay. So with that, I'm going to, because we are at almost 3/4 past the hour, I want to just try to share my screen with you. So we can just cover, I'm not sure. Hold on. Okay. I'm not able to share this.
It looked like it was sharing for a minute there, Judge.
Was it sharing the outline or was it sharing the website, the Zoom website behind it?
Well,
Sure.
my recollection is pretty cloudy on that point.
I'll try it again. I'm not,
Do I have the outline, Judge Alvarez?
I think I emailed it to you to see if you could load it up into the chat.
I can share my screen with it if you'd like.
Yes, because I'm sharing it, but now when I see it, it looks like the Zoom outline, or excuse me, the Zoom website is behind it and not the outline. Are y'all seeing the same thing, or are you seeing the outline?
We see the outline.
You do see the outline.
Yeah, and before you keep going, if I can tell people, this looks really small, obviously, and throughout the course of the hearings, it's going to be tough to go back and forth and locate the document that is being screen shared as well. One other option that you have at the top where Judge Alvarado directed us previously for view options, where you can locate the annotation feature. There's also a zoom ratio option. If you click on zoom ratio and then go to, let's say 100% or 150%, it'll zoom the document larger. And then when you scroll your cursor over the document, you'll see a little hand pop that pops up. You can left click and actually move that document now so that it is zoomed in and you can actually read the document. And if anyone needs me to repeat that, I'm happy to.
All right, so does everybody see it now?
Yes.
Okay, so I think we covered the exhibits until we get the uniformity that I'm sure everybody would be happy to have. Please check with your court. I think regardless of which method the judges are using to accept or to review the exhibits pre-hearing, the instructions are going to be, for Bexar County, the instructions are going to be in the email that you receive from the judge that's actually going to be presiding over your case. So make sure when you see that email that you're not just looking for the Zoom credentials to get into the hearing, but that you're also reading the text of the email to make sure you understand which judge is asking for what. And as I explained in the chat before, I'm going to be doing what Judge Flores indicated she was doing. I'm going to be asking for emails of the live pleadings and the exhibits to be emailed to myself and my court reporter in a reply all fashion. So that way we'll have them electronically before we get the case started. I'm also going to be asking that the attorneys notify me with a reply all if there's going to be any pretrial litigation regarding exhibits that are contested, so we can know that we're going to address that first before we go into the substance of the hearing, to try to make sure that the presentation of the hearing is as clear and concise as it can be. Unlike me, if you can get more familiar with the share screen function, I have seen hearings, and I obviously saw it in the mock trial because we had some really great attorneys that were preparing those mock trial hearings. The presentation is so much smoother if you can share the screen with the exhibit that you are talking about or questioning about or arguing about. So that takes practice, obviously. So just be aware of that and incorporate that in your trial preparation. We talked about the chat feature. You've seen that you can chat with everyone or you can chat privately. There are going to be some admonishments I expect from the different courts, specifically not chatting with witnesses while they're testifying, not chatting offensive or threatening language to your opposing counsel. Also, don't use the chat for something that you should state on the record. So if there's a reference to an exhibit that's incorrect, inadvertently, make sure you make that correction on the record, because the chat is not part of the record. The judges, as host of the meeting, can't always manage the chats. So please be aware of that. There are waiting rooms. Everybody, my settings, everyone that comes into the hearing, that comes into the meeting, is going to start off in the waiting room. Please let your clients and your witnesses know that. What we don't want to have happen is people are sent to the waiting room, they stay there for a few minutes, they think they've got the wrong number or the wrong meeting number, and they disconnect, and it just takes that much more coordination to get them back into the hearing. My practice is to not let the attorneys into the hearing until all of the attorneys are in the waiting room ready to be admitted. Likewise with the clients, I'm not going to let, for example, in a divorce, I'm not going to let in a husband to the meeting when the wife is still not connected, and vice versa. So just be mindful of that. Also, breakout rooms, just briefly, the host, the judge of the meeting, of the hearing, has the ability to use breakout rooms. These may be used for motions to confer with children in chambers or to have conference with the court in chambers. I think different people, different judges are going to be using this function in different ways. Judge Diaz, Judge Flores, I don't know if you want to speak to that, talk about breakout rooms or the functionality that you envision for your courtrooms.
Sure. I have not used them in a hearing yet. I tried it in a mock trial, and in that mock trial, we used it to allow counsel to confer with her client. So it could be used for, I think Judge Alvarez gave the example yesterday of perhaps the equivalent of a chambers conference, where we could have the judge and the attorneys be placed in a breakout room and do the chambers. Hold on. Let's see, if y'all could mute your sound, please. Let me try to mute. Okay. The other option is if two attorneys want to confer, you guys want to try to reach a settlement, we can place you in a breakout room and you can confer with counsel as well. So those are some of the ways that I foresee potentially using it in my courtroom. I'm not sure about anyone else.
Judge Flores? Oh, hold on. You're muted.
Muted by host.
Okay, there you are. I was trying to unmute you and I think I inadvertently muted you, but you should be on now, I think.
Wonderful. Can you hear me now? Great. I have, this is new for us. I'm relying on you, judges, pioneers, leading the way. We're learning, and I do foresee these break rooms. I think it's great for attorneys to confer, especially like in divorces, to reach some sort of agreement, and also in chambers. So I do foresee using this function.
Thank you. Thank you. So, and again, and I think that highlights, just in case it hasn't been said enough, our judiciary, just like our bar, is on a learning curve. And we will have a lot of patience, a lot of grace, and hopefully the bar will return kind to us as we're working through this. But the idea and the goal, and definitely the expectation from the Office of the Court Administration, is that we will be able to create a courtroom. Everything that you could do in a live courtroom, you can do in a virtual courtroom. And that's the goal. That's what we're working with. That's what we're trying to work towards. Of course, it's not the same, but it will hopefully get us to where we can go back to the courtroom again. And so I don't think you're going to, it's going to take practice and preparation. It's not going to be the same, but I think once we've mastered the preparation, it will get us where we need to be. So going through, Judge Diaz, go ahead.
I was just going to say, every day I discover new features, and I was telling you guys how to zoom into the document. Well, there's an easier way to do it. If you guys scroll over in between the document and the presenters, you'll see a gray line that pops up with the arrows that go both ways, and you can actually just drag that over to the right and increase the size of that document and minimize the size of the presenters. So there's that gray line right between the shared document and the presenters. You just scroll over, you'll find that gray line, and you can manipulate that to make the document larger or smaller, because the default is to fit into that window. So,
Judge, can you show us again how you did that? I'm sorry. I'm
Yes.
confused on the gray line thing. I apologize.
Okay, so everyone's presentation is going to be a little different. I am in, it doesn't matter if it's gallery view or speaker view. On the left-hand side, you'll be seeing the screen that is shared. On the right-hand side, you're either seeing one person speaking, myself, or you're seeing the panel of multiple people speaking.
Okay.
If you get your cursor and slowly find the space in between the document and the presenters, and you'll see a gray line pops up with a white arrow that points in both directions. You can click on that, hold down the left click, and then you can move it over to the right, and that increases the size of the document.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I wanted to just quickly go through the video. Something that we are working with, and your witnesses and your clients may not be working with, is the outline. I mean, the view, right? Gallery view versus speaker view. How you're placed in the video when you're testifying. If you're looking at the camera. I know there is a bit of informality to this since we're not all together in the courtroom, but please be mindful. Tell your clients to be mindful that this is a hearing, and the court, typically I use gallery view, so I'm trying to watch all of the little boxes, not just the person who's speaking. So if you've got a client who is, shouting at children, or gets up, or, fixing their hair, fixing their makeup. I did what Judge Alvarado has called a Zoom blooper, right? We were training with the judges with OCA, and I forgot that my video was on, so I was taking a picture of my shirt, and the video was on. So I just it's going to be an adjustment, but just be aware of that. There is a feature on your video that you can enhance, or I think it's called Touch Up My Appearance. Enhance my appearance. So not that any of us are vain, but if you'd like to do that, you can turn that on. You can, Krista, you can go over to the video settings, and you can click on that little box. You can also switch it 90 degrees, the image. So if you want that, know that for objections, this question came up during the Bexar County Women's Bar Association training. There is a lag in switching between speakers. It's a slight lag, but there is a delay capturing from the Zoom mic one box to the other. So if you're in a hearing and you're making an objection, do a visual cue. I don't think anybody will be offended by that. Raise your hand, or say, wait, or something. So that way, if there is internet connection or tech issues or something, and you want to get that objection recognized, that you'll have a signal to the court to do that as well. In the hearings, I have been asking everyone to come into the Zoom hearings with the first and last name. So please let your clients and your witnesses know that, and attorneys, please adjust your Zoom accounts accordingly. Make sure that your first and last name is there. Practice with your equipment earlier, and I'm trying to find out, remember, I think it was Mr. Juarez. He just tested out his microphone on his computer just to make sure that it was working. So know about that, practice with that. Your video the same way, understand how your camera is positioned. You don't want to be trying to argue and have your view be that way. Likewise, you don't want it up there. So just make adjustments as you're entering or before you enter the hearing room. There is a new line of questioning that will likely develop because of the virtual courtroom. Questions to witnesses, where they're at, if they're using a virtual background or not, to take off the virtual background so the environment can be seen. If they're looking at anything, if they've got another device, another computer that they're pulling up documents, I've seen those questions be asked. There's a question amongst the bar, at least there was at the beginning of the week, whether or not their clients should come to their office, or if they should both be sitting in the same conference room. Know that if you've got two devices, in the same room on the Zoom, in the same Zoom hearing, there's going to be some feedback. There's going to be some interruption in how well your audio is going to work. Likewise, if you've got an attorney and a client sitting in the same window, and this came from Judge Miskell, that the Zoom microphone has a hard time picking up two different voices associated with the same box. So some of the questions and some of the answers weren't coming through for the court record. So be mindful of that. And again, practice background noises. Default to mute if you're not speaking. If you are the attorney that's going to be cross-examining or directing the witness, you may want to have your microphone on, just so that way there's not an additional delay to make objections. And that's totally okay. It may not be totally okay if you're sitting in the middle of the family room and the TV's going and the dog is barking and the kids are yelling. So again, just go back to the environment, go back to what makes sense. Ms. Branch?
Okay, so Judge, if it's okay, I had a hearing yesterday with Judge Mary, and there were 4 attorneys. And so the way we did it in my office is my clients were there. We were social distancing because we have an 8-foot table. So I had them on the other end, and I was able to put my laptop on the bar, and you could get all of us in, and Judge Mary had no problems hearing us or seeing us. And I also went and bought a big screen TV, a 50-inch, and put that up. So that was our screen that we were able to look off of. And for documents, it was really nice. So I do have a link for Zoom rooms of how to make your own conference room into what's called a Zoom room. Whoever wants that, just let me know and I can send it to you, or I can send it to the list that Judge Alvarez has, if that's okay, or whatever you want. But I was just going to say that we were able to do that, and another attorney had her client there, and they're both on different devices, and they were having a hard time with the background noise.
Yes, no, that would be great. And if you could share the link into the chat, I think we can capture it that way. I should have a list. I don't. What I've been doing is just relying on the bar to share the invitation and just replying to everyone who asks with a copy of the invitation. So I will hopefully get a list, but
Okay, let me get the link. That's fine.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And Dr. Trevino, I see the chat. Would you like to share the example, or would you like me to share it?
I would like to share it, Judge. I had a interview today on Zoom with a client from his house, and I didn't think I had to tell people to dress appropriately, but I think it's probably important too. This young man in his mid-20s was sitting cross-legged on his bed, and he was holding his phone, and all I saw at first was like this hairy knee sticking up, kind of like from the bottom. I didn't know what it was. It was kind of alarming, and he had a wife beater t-shirt on, and he was just kind of leaned back on his bed, ready to do some testing for me. We had to spend about 10 minutes talking about appropriateness and sitting on a table and having, and when you go to court, your attorney's going to expect you to be dressed as if you were in court. So just passing that on. It was, I think I'm probably too rigid on that, but it just looked nasty.
No, I don't think you're too rigid. I think if that's the way that person had appeared in the virtual courtroom, there would have been some problems, or at least some impressions that would have to be corrected through testimony or explanation. And so again, we've been working with this technology for 2 weeks. We've been trying to get up to speed. This has been part of our functionality, part of our job. Not all the witnesses are on the same page. Not all the clients are on the same page. I mean, you've got folks that you're going to be wanting to present from CPS or from a law enforcement agency or from a school or a counselor, and they have been dealing with different priorities and different daily activities since this crisis started. And so a conversation about virtual courtroom is still the same thing as a real courtroom, even though you're testifying in your home office. Pretend you're getting dressed to go to the courthouse, because that is what what it is. Our courthouse is now coming to where everyone is at. And so maybe that familiarity, a conversation at the very least needs to be had about that. Other things I wanted to talk about, some sample Zoom admonishments. I will say, and I usually say it at the beginning, and we kind of rush to make sure that we captured the Google Drive conversation and explanation. I've been the beneficiary of trainings from Judge Varial, Judge Ferguson, Judge Miskell. The family law section of the State Bar of Texas included a training session with Judge Miskell and Judge Ferguson on Judge Miskell's YouTube channel. It's still up there. It's worth watching. It's almost a couple of hours, but there's some really good information, just some overview information to get familiar with Zoom that may be worth your time. Maybe you take a snippet and explain or ask your clients or your witnesses to take a look at that as well. So just the more familiar we get with this, the better we're going to be, the smoother our hearings are going to be. But here are some sample admonishments that I've taken from Judge Ferguson and from some of our judges during our conferences and meetings of what the expectations are. Just to stay muted until you need to be heard. Make sure that the witnesses are not private chatting or text messaging or interrupting a witness who is sworn under oath to give testimony. There are different ways that different judges are complying with the open courts provision. My expectation, rather than streaming to YouTube, is to let people into the meeting if they ask to be let in. I'm going to ask them to come in just like everyone else with the first and last name, with the video on, and to identify themselves. But if they don't, I'm going to put them back in the waiting room. So different judges are doing different things. I'm not sure what everyone is doing. I'm not sure what the right answer is. It's still definitely being discussed. So just be aware of that. You may have, there was a question in the chat earlier, you may have more people in your hearing that are not your clients, not opposing counsel, not witnesses. They're just observers. And so I think that's another reason that the OCA has adjusted the functionality of these of our hosting of the meetings to try to curb any Zoom bombing that may occur. So I still need to get familiar with what the changes are that were made overnight. Let's see what else. Miscellaneous things. There is an option on the Zoom hearing, a virtual hearing, to have interpreters. I haven't worked with that functionality yet, but I think as Judge Miskell explained it, you indicate that your hearing is going to need interpretation, and the person who is interpreting and the person who needs the interpretation have almost like their own connection. So the person who needs the interpretation is getting the real-time interpretation. You all in the meeting, including the judge, still hear the witness speaking and answering in the language, whether it's Spanish or French or whatever, but the volume is at 20%. So you can hear their tone, you can see how they are talking, but the volume that's at 100% is going to be that of the interpreter speaking in English. So know that that is available, that that's an option. I just need to work with that functionality. I'm not able to demonstrate it for you now. Folks have figured out how to raise their hands. If you have random tech issues during your hearing, your internet connection gets dropped off, or you drop your phone and it disconnects, just come back. Give word, send a text to opposing counsel, send a text to your client. Just let people know what's going on. And again, there's going to be a lot of patience, a lot of grace that I think we're all going to be giving and receiving. So, so just be aware of that and communicate that. With that, we're at 6:05. We're right at the hour. Are there any questions? And if there are any questions in the chat that I've missed, go ahead and just announce them so that way we can address them. Okay, I don't see any raised hands and I don't see any questions. I know it's a Friday of a long week. I also suspect that our weeks ahead are going to be just as long. But we are definitely all in this together. If there's anything that we can do to be helpful, please let us know. If there's any questions that we can answer to help, especially our Bexar County attorneys who are getting ready for the open docket on, I say open docket, but the docket on Monday, please let us know. Anything?
Hey, Judge, this is Shanti. I do have a question. Are you going to keep doing these next week, or any regularity or anything?
So I probably not next week. I think that there's going to be a big learning curve and adjustment, and I don't think anybody's going to be surprised that some of our hearings that get assigned are going to run longer than expected. So I'm expecting to be working on hearings until 6 next week. But I think the week after, once we get a week under our belt and kind of see how things are going and what's been going on and what can be improved upon, we may start that the week of the 13th. But I know Judge Diaz is working very closely with Saba in getting a lunch seminar for the 14th. Is that correct, Judge Diaz?
That's correct.
So please be on the lookout for that. The San Antonio Bar Association is going to be hosting a lunch seminar, kind of questions and answers and top 10 things that you need to know about how the week has gone. And then probably after that seminar, we'll start doing some Q&As. I do think that Judge Gonzalez, the 131st, is going to be hosting a Q&A next Friday. Or maybe not a Q&A, but kind of just sharing what has worked and what hasn't worked during her week. I'll be doing the same thing, probably just not next week. It'll probably be the following week. But Judge Gonzalez, I think she announced it at the Bexar County Women's Bar seminar at lunch today. She's going to be hosting a Zoom session on Friday. Not a week from today. But I will definitely try to get the word out when we do these. I think we're going to do at least a few more, kind of try to see what the best practices are and if there are questions as you have your own Zoom hearings. The mock trial videos, thank you, Ms. Gavito, for asking. I tried to upload those today. I spent some time, Judge Diaz was very gracious and kind to let me bug some of her staff. Noah was trying to help me. It didn't get uploaded. I'm not sure why. So I'm going to work with that this weekend and again, try to get that mock trial hearing uploaded to my YouTube channel, as well as the 3 Q&A sessions, or yes, 4 Q&A sessions that we've had this week. So hopefully just keep checking, and I will, once it's successful, I'll probably make an announcement on the Facebook and Twitter, just to let you know that it's been posted if you're interested in reviewing those. And I think Judge Diaz and Judge Alvarado, Judge Canales, and I'm trying to think who else hosted. Judge Diaz, help me.
Jimenez, Judge Jimenez.
Judge Jimenez. So check those channels to see when and if the mock trial videos will be posted for training purposes. Any other questions? Oh, what is my YouTube channel? You know, Gabe was on here yesterday and he was able to post the URL. I don't know. If you search the 45th District Court, you will find it. It comes up and it's pretty searchable, but I don't know the address, unfortunately. I'm sorry. I'll try to get that to memory. Anything else? And Judge, Judge Diaz does have her YouTube channel as well.
I do, but I also don't have the URL memorized. I was trying to pull up both of ours to send them to you guys.
Is it similar? I know Judge Arteaga did like 57th space DC. So if we do something like that, should we be able to find y'all?
You would think so.
Okay, we can try it.
I believe so.
But yeah, and I think we had a conversation earlier about updating our county website pages to include some of this updated information. So perhaps we'll include links to those YouTube channels on the county page so you can find them in one location. I'll propose that to my colleagues.
Thank you, Judge.
You're welcome.
Oh, I keep forgetting to take myself off of mute. So, and just to answer the question that was in the chat, again, I'm not streaming my hearings on YouTube. I know there's some pretty vigorous debate, and there's some pretty, there's good research that's going back and forth amongst the judges statewide on whether or not that's the only way to comply with the open courts provision. Obviously, I don't think it is. I'm not going to be streaming our hearings. I'll probably either be publishing a number to call if you want the credentials to come into the Zoom meeting, or I will be publishing the Zoom meeting. A lot of it is going to depend on the Zoom bombers, how sophisticated they become. It's my understanding they've become pretty sophisticated in a short period of time. And there are groups and Twitter groups, Facebook groups that kind of, once they get the meeting credentials, regardless of what meeting it is, they publish it and people start entering that, that meeting and causing disruption. So, but I'm still not convinced that streaming to YouTube is the best way to maintain order in the courts. So I'm not. Oh, thank you, Judge Diaz.
Same here, I'm not. Well, someone else dropped mine above and then I dropped yours. Oh, there we go, they're all there. Perfect, thank you guys for your help. If you go to the YouTube website and you just type in the 45th or the 150th, then it'll pop up there. If you do it in the your regular browser, it's not gonna pop up.
Okay, any questions? Any other questions, rather? Y'all, thank you so much.
Where do you find it again if it's not in your regular browser? I'm sorry, Judge Diaz, I didn't hear. I was busy writing down notes and I couldn't figure it out.
No problem. You just go to the YouTube. So you, in your regular browser, type in YouTube and it'll take you to the YouTube website. And then within the YouTube website, you use their search function to type in the court that you're looking for, and the that court's page will pop up.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Absolutely. So, and Judge Flores, Judge Diaz, thank you so much for being here to answer questions and give insight. And everyone, thank y'all for coming and learning with us and helping move things along during this crisis. We are really appreciative of all of you. So thank you so much. And with that, there being no other questions, at least for today, we will see you all soon. Have a good weekend. Thank you.
Bye, have a good weekend. Thank you.
Thank you all, and have a safe and dry weekend.
We'll try.
Rain, hail tonight, so I hope you're all safe.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sophia wanted to say bye.
Oh, bye, Sophia.
Bye.